Welcome back. All right, so we've got a news of the day video for all you fine people out there watching in internet land on a Monday, March 15th, or beware the Ides of March. Everyone will look at it. And of course it's a couple of days before the day where everything's green, where it's St. Patrick's Day and all that. And I've got enough green jerseys. I've got a couple St. Patrick's Day ones as well, just to keep things interesting when I'm doing videos on Wednesday. So, and hopefully one of the teams that I have a green jersey for and would want to wear that day would also have a game that night. So, fingers crossed on that. And with all the reverse retros, there should be a couple extras to throw in there. Well, just New Jersey, right? Okay, let's start things off talking about Montreal, shall we? So Ben Chiarot is out 6 to 8 weeks. He's having hand surgery to repair a fracture, which sounds really, really painful. So hopefully he's back in 6 weeks rather than 8. Of course, in 6 weeks, they'll have 7 games left. If he's out for the entire 8 weeks, that basically means he's out until the playoffs, which would mean that they can throw him in the LTIR, and the cap space he's eating up, they could technically throw at somebody else. So a team that may have already been in the market for a defenseman, now I would think is definitely in the market for a defenseman. Marc Bergevin didn't replace the coach because he intended to miss the playoffs or just barely make the playoffs. The pressure is on, and I would think that they'll look to make a move. And you would think with the 2-week quarantine situation, which NHL clubs and the NHL themselves have been trying to get cleared up, but to this point they haven't got any agreement to clear that up. So as long as Canada says, hey, you got to quarantine 14 days after you arrive, they have to get a deal done, you would think, immediately, if they want to get that help and have somebody in the lineup prior to the deadline, and with enough time, because you have that 2 weeks in between where that player's kind of in limbo. So it's tough. But for Montreal, they're going to look to make an addition, unless they pick somebody up from Ottawa, right? So unless they pick up, and I just say Ottawa because they're the one team in Canada that I think we can agree has probably given up on making the playoffs this year and is looking forward to next year. They are playing the spoiler, yes, but they're the one team in Canada you can look at and say, well, mathematically, it's not going to happen, right? So we'll see what Montreal does. Boston's in an interesting situation, so Tuukka Rask won't be ready to play today or tomorrow, so Halak plays today, and for tomorrow, they're not tipping their hand as of yet. I would figure it'd be later that would play, but Jeremy Swayman may get a look. Swayman is considered their next goaltender, the next starter for Boston, and so they may give him a look in tomorrow night's game. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I might go with Vlader only because in the return to play, he played a bit and he looked good. So he didn't play a lot, obviously, but he played a bit and he looked fine. So we'll see. Boston's gonna have to figure this out anyways, because Rask's contract's up at the end of this season, and they may move on from both goaltenders. Could happen. Of course, as I mentioned in the preview today, I'll mention it here as well. Tonight's game between St. Louis and LA has been postponed because LA caught in a snowstorm in Denver, not able to get out in time for today's game to take place. They're scheduled to play on Wednesday. That is the second game of the set, though. There's no makeup date announced yet for the game that was supposed to be played tonight. Remember, they do have those days in May where they can tack games on if they need to. They don't want to, but they can. So we'll see how it goes for the Kings from here. They shouldn't have a problem making it for Wednesday's game, you wouldn't think. Now, speaking of goaltending, going back to the Boston bit, Dallas is also in an interesting goaltending position. In fact, all 3 teams I cheer for have interesting goaltending stories right now. Ben Bishop returns in 3 to 5 weeks for Dallas. Then what do you do? Jake Ottinger's kind of taken that job. He has a 4-1-5 record. I know the 5 looks kind of ugly, but Dallas isn't scoring, so I don't put that on Ottinger. His save percentage of .917 is not too shabby. And he started off kind of with iffy numbers at the start of the year. He's getting better. And so I do wonder when Bishop returns, what do you do? Honestly, I would be open to the idea of them moving Hudobin because I think there's a market for a rental at the deadline of a goaltender. So if they end up moving on from Hudobin and they have Bishop and Ottinger, I think that would be fine. And obviously, we would then be hoping Bishop stays healthy. But I think Ottinger's ready for a full-time role in the NHL. I think that's what we've seen. And hopefully he gets that. It's possible Bishop comes back. They just send Ottinger to the taxi squad. They make him the number 3 guy, and it's no big deal. But I do wonder. I wonder what they're going to do. Joey Decord. What a story. And honestly, he's thrilled with his victory. And he gave a heartwarming speech of sorts after his win, for everything that got him to this win. And it kind of felt like Jack Campbell with the Leafs. And goaltenders, generally really decent guys. That's what we're finding out, these younger goaltenders, decent guys. And Decord, good story. The number 3 goaltender. He didn't know until 2 minutes before warm-up that there might be an issue, where Matt Murray came over and gave him a heads up and was like, yeah, I don't know that I can go tonight. So I don't know how long this is going to be a thing, or if it'll be an on and off thing for Matt Murray. But Decord has shown that he's at least worthy of a look as well. And we kind of knew this was going to happen this year. You have a shorter schedule. You don't have a training camp. We're seeing a lot more third string goaltenders getting actual opportunities than they otherwise would. And maybe part of that is the taxi squad too. And so we'll see whether or not going into next year, if the National Hockey League and if any of the teams have some kind of desire to not make the taxi squad, will not be permanent. There is no desire for that. But it's something I mentioned in the return last year, which was that you had your healthy scratches, but you had access to them. So if somebody gets hurt during a game, you can take one of those guys who's watching from above and say, hey, so suit up, because we're going to put you in the lineup tonight. I think that would be great. I think that would be really... honestly, I'd like to see that brought in, where if a team is down a forward or down a defenseman, they're able to call on one of the healthy scratches and put him in the lineup. Maybe you'd make it so that you can't for the rest of the period. And so, if it's first period, you got to go the rest of the first period with 5 defensemen. And then in the second period, they can say, hey, so now coming in is, this guy. I don't think that should be a problem at all. Maybe they could have that with goaltenders too, where you'd have, okay, so, Halak went down, and he just, it looks like he pulled something. So instead of having the emergency backup goaltender, you'd have the number 3. And again, some teams might choose to do that and some wouldn't. But I think it would be interesting if they decided to do that. All right, and moving on to the 3 stars of the week. The NHL's announced its 3 stars of the week. And Grubauer's the first star out of Colorado. Shouldn't be a surprise. Draisaitl, Edmonton, second star. And Nick Ehlers, third star in Winnipeg. So there's always going to be people who say, hey, what about this guy? What about this guy? Again, it's 3 players out of hundreds and hundreds, and many players had good weeks. I think those are good picks, good as any. Grubauer had an excellent week, 3-1 with a shutout, 1.24 goals against average, and Colorado fans love him right now. So, we'll see how Grubauer does from here. Very good week, and we'll see if it carries over into next week as well. Marcus Felino, he's sidelined for a while. Basically now, I think for the foreseeable future is going to be the now go-to. I think Buffalo started a trend, because the same thing Minnesota's saying about Marcus Felino. He's sidelined for the foreseeable future with a lower body injury. So wasn't it a shot block off his ankle? So I'll go ahead and say ankle. And we'll see just how bad that is, because it's for the foreseeable future. And it all depends. Ankle could be 3 weeks, could be 6, could be 8, could be a while. So we'll see. But yeah, Felino's going to be out for a while. And that's tough for him, because he was in the midst of one of the hottest streaks he's had as a member of the Minnesota Wild. He really had a really good run going for them. And so hopefully it's not as bad as all that. Last night, of course, Jean-Gabriel Pageau was added to the COVID list. And then Dobson last minute was pulled out. And Aho was put in. And it turned out that Dobson was on the list as well. So now for the Islanders, we'll see how long these guys are out. We'll see if it's full 2 weeks. We'll see if it's a couple of days. Maybe there was a false positive somewhere. But they were both out of the lineup for the Islanders last night. They still managed to find a way to win that game. If you're a Devils fan, I know. I know. I saw it too. I understand. but the Islanders officially get the win. They have 9 wins in a row. It's all right. But yeah, Pajot and Dobson on the list, and that's pretty major considering with Anders Lee out, Pajot's one of those guys they would have been looking forward to getting more offense from in the place of Anders Lee. And Pajot already offensively is very good, but he would have had more opportunities. So I wanted to close out with Detroit for a bit here. Filip Hronek has declared their player of the week. You know, he's not talked about, so I want to talk about him a little bit here. He had 5 assists in 3 games. He leads the Wings in points. He has 15. And Mantha's second with 14. He has 59 shots. Now, all of his points are assists. He's going to get goals. He had 9 goals last year. Hronek is one of the best kept secrets in the NHL. He is. There's going to be a day where Detroit gets better. People pay more attention to Detroit, and then they realize, hey, that Hronek's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Now, his plus-minus is ugly because he's in Detroit, but that's how that works. And hey, you know, all the best of luck to him. And I do find myself kind of rooting for the Wings because Mickey Redmond, and because it's sad they've been bad for a while now, and that, you know, I'd like to see them turn around a little bit, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Hronek to me is an underrated guy, and because they tweeted out he was their player of the week today, I thought, yeah, I'll throw him into the news today because I do think he's an underrated defenseman in the NHL. So the question becomes, who is the most underrated defenseman in the NHL? It's not Jeff Petrie, because there are plenty of reporters in Canada talking about how Petrie should be in the conversation for the Norris. So I would say Petrie outside of Canada, you may have a point. Because, again, due to divisions being completely separated this year, if you're in the States, you don't have to watch Canadian games. If you're in Canada, you don't have to watch American games. And I know there's some of that's been going on as well. But all right, there you go. Let me know your thoughts regarding any of these items on the board. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just tapping upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.